fellow McKenchlings, I really need your help right now. I need your help with proliferating the Monster anime live reactions. Now I know there's love for Monster out there, people, but I want to proliferate watching Monster. You know, I know there's people out there watching loads and loads of different anime, but the Monster, man, I need that. I need people to watch Monster, to take notice of Monster, and that's what my live reaction for Monster been all about. So, and make no mistake, channel growth is a thing, because if I have a platform, I can proliferate the watching of great anime, and I want to proliferate the watching of Monster, and work by Naoki Urasawa. So, if you have my reaction and you enjoy it, and you're one of my Monster fans, go and share it on Facebook, go and share it on Tumblr, go and share it on Twitter, tweet it out, or some live reaction or something. Proliferate these live reactions so people take notice. They're like, okay, maybe I like this guy. Okay, what's he watching? Monster? I'll watch Monster. Or people who started Monster, not into it, or are kind of reinvigorated to watch Monster because of my live reaction, that kind of thing. A lot of people have told me that they're reinvigorated to watch Monster or watch an anime because I watched it. Rainbow's one of them. Psychopaths is one of them. I think someone said that they wanted to were getting around to watching Monster, but will start now. Some are saying 20th Century Boys, they hadn't had on their radar, but they still wanted to start watching it. So please, people, proliferate the Monster reaction. I want to see those views rise. I don't care about views generally, but because I love Monster so much, because I think Naoki Urasawa's work needs to be out there, and I know the love for Monster is out there. So let's bring it here, people. So that's the help I'm asking my fellow McKenchlings, my subs, with. So proliferate my reactions to Monster, try and get the view counts up, put it on forums, that kind of thing, for people who are crying out for people to react to good animes like Monster, the lesser known, not rather lesser known, but the rather less on people's radar. Not many people watch radar or have the patience for Monster. So I need your help right now, people. So yeah, thank you. What is up, YouTube? It's your boy Mackenzie1, Mackenzie985, Mo Inside, whichever of those names that you know him by, and welcome to another review. This is for a complete review to Volume 1. I've already covered the first 3 chapters, but this review is going to cover Chapter 4 to Chapter 10, which is the entirety of the 20th Century Boys manga. Now, the interesting thing about this volume was everything I had anticipated would happen, or certain resolutions that would happen, did happen, and some of my theories from the early chapters were correct. But really, the primary focus of this volume, after the 3rd chapter, was the introduction, the celebration of the life and death of Donkey, a friend of Kenji's from his childhood, and he was really quite a tragic figure throughout this volume. But what his death also brought was new clues to what the symbol was, and where the symbol was being appropriated, and where all the clues towards the symbols and all that kind of was leading to. Now, the one thing I noticed in chapter 4 was that they start the chapter saying Donkey's dead, and I'm thinking, okay, what an introduction to a character! What an introduction to a character! But the minute they start going on about the character, where everyone's reminiscing about him at his wake, he's a very tragic figure. He was a poor kid, he didn't have TV, he didn't have access to bicycles that his friends had. He was a poor guy. He needed to walk everywhere and that kind of thing. And they used to bully him. He used to bully a lot. And the circumstances surrounding his death were he'd committed suicide. But before he'd committed suicide, Kenji received a letter, from Donkey, and saying, "Oh, it's been a while since we talked, and where this symbol comes from." He was even Donkey, just before his death, was wondering where this symbols come from. Now, the situation with Donkey was he was a teacher, and he was worried about, and the letter was regarding a student of his that he was worried about, Masao or Masakun, as we discover him being called early on in the manga, and he's worried because Masao is a bright student who's being kind of led astray by someone, and we discover that someone is the cult of Friend, basically. And he's obsessed with the cult friend. He listens to healing music, they call it. Healing, cult, how they are. This merchandise and all this crap and healing music, and everyone's just obsessed with this central figure in the cult. So he's worried about him. So Kenji having kind of, getting into kind of little arguments with his friends about being obsessed with this symbol and starting to pick up the breadcrumb trail where the symbol leads is the issue. Now, we also, in this volume, get to finally see Mon-chan. Mon-chan comes back from Dusseldorf, I believe, and he comes back for the wake, and this is where they all kind of, celebrate the life of Donkey. And Donkey seems to be a very, very lovely, awesome figure. They paint him, Naoki Urasawa paints him so tragic, he's kind of very skinny, bony, curly hair. He's always got a snot coming out of his nose, This kind of almost, archetypal anime tragic guy, but he's got such a pure heart. And the first time we get to see his pure heart is when he helps them out in the gravel pit. When they're all kind of falling and they need someone to a rope to pull someone out, and he just happens to be there because he follows them around, even though they all give him shit. And one thing with Carry-On is I've discovered in this manga is he's a dick. He really is a dick. It's no wonder that he gets the most the butt of the jokes and that kind of thing. He's like a little sly, Weasley kind of guy. But he is their friend after all, and friends come in many shapes and sizes. Bon-chan seems to be the older, the more alpha dog-esque kind of friend. Now, the situation with Donkey was that he commits suicide. Now that was really interesting because they didn't think that he was a guy that would commit suicide. And the thing with him committing suicide is they said he jumped off a roof, and it seems as though he must have had an encounter. It's alluded to that he must have had an encounter with someone that either made him jump off the roof or he discovered something because of the suicide note. And no one and in the suicide note he goes, "I'll see you soon," would ever say that would commit suicide right after. So either something's happened or he discovered something that made him jump, or he's forced to jump, or whatever the circumstances were. But this got Kenji kind of alarmed, and his kid, in the flashbacks to him, the guy can jump. The guy can jump. I mean, he jumps out of a 2-story window when they're kind of going around at some ghost. They think there's a ghost in some abandoned building or something, and they're going to investigate that stuff. And he's not actually afraid of ghosts, Donkey, but he jumps out of a window. And there's a stupid moment in the comic where it just brought me in. It brought me in. Even today as adults, people can make stupid comments because we are still the same people we were before at heart. We never lose that. Some people lose it, but at the very core, they're not. They go, oh, maybe, he thought he could jump off the roof when he could jump out of 2 floors out of a building. That stupid comment, and it makes people wonder. And I'm thinking, why would they say something so stupid? Who would jump off a roof thinking that they had the ability to land on their feet just because as a kid they jumped out from a 2nd floor and that kind of thing? So that was kind of weird, but that was also very realistic. Sometimes we don't think in the moment. When we're nostalgic and we remember back. And without having to cover too much of what happened and stuff, this breadcrumb trail and the eye symbol leads us to discover, and this is something we discover, that the name of the friend is Collins. Now, in chapter 6, which is my favorite chapter, there's a mysterious figure, and this is a blink or you'll miss it kind of group of panels, where in chapter 6 there's a mysterious kid whose back's to the frame, and basically Maruo, Kenji, and I think the other friend, I forgot his name, the little specky kid, they go, why is he's so excited about Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin, stepping on the moon, and why is he so excited, that kind of thing. And then obviously Donkey runs off, he's really excited, yeah, that kind of thing. And mysterious kid goes, I actually feel sorry for the guy who had to stay inside the pod, the moon lander, Lieutenant Collins. Now that just those words and that kind of thing is a mirror to what the friend is saying in the chapter about the fact that the friend said that my feet were only few feet from the moon, but I never set foot on the moon. So he's basically appropriated Lieutenant Collins as a persona, and he's saying I was so close to the moon, but I never landed once to step foot on it. And then this harkens back to the flashback where the kid's feeling sorry for Lieutenant Collins, because he felt sorry for the guys inside the Moonlander who never got to step foot on the moon. And I have a suspicion that this kid might be the younger version of Friend. So that's another really interesting thing I noticed in this chapter. This is why it was one of my favorite chapters, because of the way it's told the stories, because of the parallels, and because of the kind of nuggets of information that lead us to think that, you know, the Friend is someone who knew these children. If not one of their friends, it was someone who knew them in the childhood. We even got to see him, or rather, see the back of him. So, you know, that was something I really, really enjoyed. Now, the whole thing about my predictions of the appropriation of this their symbol, the appropriation of stuff they discussed, uh, came to fruition. They all realized that these things are being appropriated by them. You know, the symbols being appropriated, and this cult is now the symbol of this cult. And we also this in chapter 6. Um, we get to see a flashback to uh, Donkey, and Donkey looking forward to the moon landings, and which is my prediction from one, where maybe the moon landings are a huge part of it. Because 1969 was when Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin landed on the moon, and no one seemed to be interested. They all fell asleep, but of every one of them, Donkey was the one that was most interested, and they landed. And that entire chapter was called "Flag on the Moon," and you know, it was really quite impressive for me to realize, or you know, to have that, you know, prediction rewarded in that sense. Also, I predicted that, you know, Kenji was coming to terms with his existing lifestyle. You know, he had many dreams as a child, but he was coming to terms with where he was now, having been where he was. And ultimately, towards the end of this volume, it was very much something everyone did wonder. Kenji did wonder. It was quipped that, what would our past selves think of us now? Are we anywhere where we thought our past selves would be? And we also flash back to these kids borrowing something. You know how you bury a time capsule to uncover, you know, 50, 60 years, however down the line. They thought, let us all get a tin or whatever it is, make a symbol, put everything that we love into it, and wrap it with the symbol, which is the eye with the thing, and let's uncover it when the world is in peril. The next time we uncover this capsule, is the world will be in peril. And it's so fortuitous that they managed to, you know, uncover this again from the old field, but the old field has now had the buildings covered up, and it's very much a trip down memory lane for these guys. This entire volume is about introducing characters, where they've been and where they are, and them coming back together again. And it feels this sense of adventure here. Yeah, there's very much a sense of adventure here. We're also introduced to Yukiji, one of their female friends from the past, and they're now trying to figure out who the hell is appropriating all of this. Who is appropriating our symbol? You know, who else could know about this symbol but someone we knew? And Yukiji seems to be a very, he seems to be a customs officer who sniffs out drugs, I guess, drugs and contraband and that kind of thing from luggage and that kind of thing. Right at the end of the volume, we were introduced to her. It ends there. It doesn't really hang on. I wouldn't consider that a huge cliffhanger to end on. What to say? We get now the analysis of the manga so far is that we heard about someone called Professor Shikishima. Shikishima, who's gone missing, and apparently the student that I was talking about that they found with his blood completely drained from his body was an engineering student of Shikishima. And Kenji discovers that Shikishima's obviously what's it called? Shikishima's um, disappeared, completely disappeared. And they found the symbol for the eye on his back door. But we also discover that Kenji's friend Donkey, who passed away, who was a teacher, was worried about Masakun, and Masakun was a student of Shikishima. So we have Shikishima as a central figure who disappeared, but his whole family disappeared. And it turns out that Masao is obviously brainwashed by this cult, and he's been told to kill someone by the friend. They seem to want to purify and purge other preachers or other cult leaders, and he's been tasked to, you know, go and murder this other cult leader who Masao has. So they're wondering who the hell is appropriating these symbols and why they're using it. What's the ultimate goal for these guys? There's not much we know. We're still, you know, with mystery anime, it's very difficult to analyze it when there's so much mystery going on. But we know that Shikishima is a huge point of interest. We know that Collins is the name of the friend now, and it's almost very likely that the friend is someone they knew, or someone who is their friend. Now, I doubt it could be. Sometimes with cult leaders, it's always about resurrection. They present themselves as sort of messianic figures, and I have a feeling that, okay, Donkey's definitely dead. Everyone's definitely at his wake, and it's definitely not. It can definitely not be Donkey that's faking his death. That is the leader. And they've thrown around a few names, but we know for sure that the friend is not Monchan, it's not Maruo, it's not Kerryon, and it's not Kenji, and it's definitely not Yukiji because he's a man. Now, I think that's a red herring. I don't think that us trying to figure out if it's a friend or not is the real issue here. The real issue here is this cult leader friend is going around, um, you know, is going around getting his flock to murder people, and he's apparently trying to save his flock, and everyone's obsessed. And I love the way Naoki Urasawa, through as his appearance ramps up throughout the volume, starts to show more of the flock. His plans seem to unfold, but he's just still a mysterious, enigmatic figure covered in shadow while his plans are progressing forward. And there's an odd thing where there's a huge contraption, huge metal contraption, with a smile on it, and it's got the eye on it, the symbol in the eye. It's got a huge nose, and I don't know what that is. Maybe it's a robot. Like, seems to be someone trying to create a robot, or it's some sort of weapon someone's created with a scarecrow nose and a giant smiley face with the eye in it. It reminds me of the Scarecrow and Monster, where we see from the picture book. The picture book that Johan and Anna Liebert read as children. It reminds me of that Scarecrow, but obviously with the symbol that's been appropriated by the friend, the eye symbol. But also throughout this volume, finally, what I'd imagine they do, the word secret society gets thrown around. The secret society, secret society. But I wonder why this symbol's been appropriated and what this has to do with the kids. I'm still stumped after this volume. As for the artwork, after chapter 3, we have less of the uncanny moments. We do have an uncanny moment towards the end, right at the very, very last chapter, which is entirely seems to be focused around Yukiji, the female friend, and her talking about some weird encounters with a dog. We initially think that she's talking about a guy, licking her out, that some kind of sexual. But it turns out that she's just a customs officer with a dog, and the dog that she's partnered with is very horny, that kind of thing. So it's kind of humorous, but they do tone back the humor as Kenji wants to discover what's going on. What else can I say, man? Like, really, there's nothing more to say. The whole once things happen, once they stop doing the whole development thing for Kenji, the plot starts to progress. The friends start getting involved in it, and still, right now, the friends are not convinced that there's anything sinister going on. Kenji seems to be the only guy that thinks there's anything, sort of going on right now. Also, I want to say that when he commits suicide, it reminded me of Richard Brown. If you guys have seen Monster, Red Monster, Richard Brown committing suicide from the top of the roof after his encounter with Johan. Now, in the anime, I haven't read the manga, but the anime is alluded to that Johan seems to kind of feel the guilt that Richard Brown has for shooting the serial killer, and he realized he wasn't drunk, and he jumped off the roof and committed suicide. Now, that's reminding me, when I read that part of Donkey committing suicide, it reminded me very much of the Richard Brown thing, and that makes me assume that maybe Donkey has had an encounter with the friend, or hasn't had an encounter with someone that would either make him commit suicide, or maybe he was bumped off. Now, we've also discovered that that harkens back to one of the early chapters, is when the police officers discovered the guy with blood drained from his body. That was all linked to Shikishima, but he was an engineering student. Now, he's an engineering student, and Shikishima was obviously an engineering professor. Now, my assumption might be that Shikishima hasn't disappeared, and he's getting these students to build this contraption for him. This contraption I talked about with the smiley face, the nose, and the eye, and I don't know what the hell that is—a nuclear bomb, a weapon, a laser, whatever. There's nothing out of the realms of impossibility for this series, because it juggles so many different things: real world politics, childhood, friendship, fantasy. The kind of balmy. It's kind of this manga could very much not be out of place in a Terry Gilliam kind of film, you know, where it's balmy and crazy, but there's a very real undercurrent of anti elitism, anti secret society, anti Illuminati, anti Freemason, anti cult kind of sentiments going on throughout there, and it makes me wonder what the hell the friend wants and why he's so captivating. What is it about him that captivates him? Because he's appropriated all the language that the kids use. He appropriated all that kind of thing, and he's talking about purity and cleansing and Kenji. There's a throwaway line, not a throwaway line, but there's a moment where Kenji um, kind of communicates his disgust for these fat priests that were at the wake of Donkey. And that was a very, very brief moment where it seems to see that Kenji might have an underlying, he doesn't like authority, but he doesn't like religious authority figures. So Kenji makes an awesome protagonist to go up against this cult leader who's appropriated their such a reasonably harmless symbol, in their childhood, but it's become something more sinister now. And Masao is actually introduced before we realize who he really is. So someone's calling Masakun while he's listening to this CD with the friend symbol on it, or rather Kenji symbol on it. And later on we discover that the Masao that he's looking for, that Donkey was worried about, is indeed that guy, and they find him. And it's weird because he ends up going to kill another cult leader that he wanted to. Now we also discover the friend actually says to purify these people we must drain their blood from their body. Now, combined with the contraption that he has, that he's building, and combined with the virus scare that's going on, I have a feeling that the friend is testing out a virus. That's at least in my opinion. In my opinion, I think he's testing out a virus to cleanse people, but he's trying to get people to. He's basically trying to convince his flock that the world is coming to an end. The world is coming to an end. The world coming to an end. But he's doing this by creating a virus that he created himself. So in a way, he's encouraging people to flock to him. Problem, reaction, solution. He's created the virus. He's created the solution, which is his religion, of the friend's religion. And he's offered the solution that absolution. Maybe he's got the cure to the virus. These are my assumptions. These are my things. What can I say about artwork? I can't really comment much on her artwork per se. The moments where the kids are in the grown-up kids, Kenji, Maruo, Monchan, Carry-On, they're all together. When they go and revisit their old haunts, it's quite clear that that the way she's drawn them are such monolithic, dark. It's steeped in darkness. It's no longer the fantasy land they remember. It's all dark and huge towers and structures, bowling alleys, gentlemen's clubs and all this stuff, all built over their childhood. And when they try and go and uncover the past, is really what it is. It's a metaphor for uncovering the past. Going up and digging that item, to see what they dug, which Monchan remembers they buried, which is the only reason why they went back to their old field, which is now built on, is squashed under a building. They go around the back, I think, trying to break in, uncover it. And it's amazing. It's just so amazing. They feel like kids again. And they do transition between them being kids planting the box to them being grown-ups pulling the box out. But they still seem like they're in a fantasy land. They're kids again. Even though they're drawn as adults, I still think that, these people are now come together. They're one and the same people. Really thoroughly great volume this was. And I'm so fucking intrigued. Dare I say it, this has intrigued me more than Monster. Definitely intrigued more than Monster, and they've given me more than Monster. Monster holds back for a long time, but this friend figure is an even bigger enigmatic figure than Johan, because Johan, we seem to know where he's come from. We don't know what his motivations are, and you could say the same thing for the friend, but the friend is more sinister because he communicates with people. Johan spent his entire thing trying to get rid of his existence. This guy is standing in front of audiences. A whole bunch of brainwashed people have seen his face, that know he exists. But it seems to be everyone outside the circle only knows him as the friend. But it's very clear that these guys know what he looks like. But, we haven't discovered who he is. So I hope, you enjoyed that deconstruction of the first volume. We know that the name of the friend is now Collins. There was a moment where he was crying. and his flock couldn't understand why he was crying, why he was like tearing up in the volume, and that was a weird moment. He was crying. Maybe he's mentally ill. Maybe he's like a Johan, that he has a dual personality. You know, maybe he is a friend, someone from the past. I say maybe, but we know he's a friend. We know the kids have discovered him, and that's a very brief thing. It's like a blink if you'll miss it panel where in their childhood flashback, Collins is there, but really it's the discovery of who this friend is, why he's doing what he's doing, why he's appropriated that symbol, what importance does he place on that symbol that he appropriated it. Does he remember back fondly and wants to bring that society back, but he wants to bring it up in a bigger way? Is he mentally ill? You know, if you remember back fondly, some people, you know, are really clingy. Some people remember friendships a lot more strongly than other people. A lot of people can drift away. I can drift away from friendship a lot easier than a lot of people can. But a lot of people have a huge nostalgia for the past, just can't let go. And then in the modern day, it kind of warps their psyche and that kind of thing. And they want to be part of something. And very much it feels like this friend guy wants to be part of a family. So he's created this persona of the friend, and he wants this flock. But then equally, the flock that he's speaking to are people who want to look for that sense of belonging, and you know, the sense of belonging that's gone, you know, from these children's lives. Maro's somewhere, Carry On's getting married, Monchan's in Dusseldorf, Daro's, you know, just a blob basically. So you know, that's my interpretation. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope it, you know, it was as in depth as I could be, that I could remember off the top of my head. And you know, Donkey man, the celebration of Donkey's life and his death, and at least his death wasn't in vain and led to this breadcrumb trail. And you know, I thoroughly loved it, and I loved the flashbacks to the child. And nostalgia was steep throughout, and I could connect with it. And that was the, you know, my review of Volume 1. And hopefully, I'm gonna leave it a while before I do the next volumes. I just don't have the time. But I thought, let me just sum up this volume and let me see how I go. And I'm really looking forward to the rest of these things. So thank you for watching. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe. Follow me on Twitter for the latest live reaction updates at MoInside1985, at MoINSYYED1985, all lowercase, all one word. Thank you for watching.